As I was denied permission to film what happened to the Parcel's crew car at Williton station, I've heard from several people who saw what happened. I thought I'd make a little reconstruction, as far as I know, what I've heard, of what happened later that day on my model railway. True, this is German outline, but I think the various points of what happened that day can be shown fairly clearly here. So the last thing we saw on video was the arrival of the forklift truck, and that came in and positioned itself at this end of the crew car. I understand that the fork on that forklift truck could move slightly sideways, perhaps a foot or so. I think anything more it would have been a bit unstable, but they were hoping to lift up this end of the wagon such that the wheel flanges cleared the track, and similarly at the other end with what turns out, I believe, to be trolley jacks on wheels. They put in several blocks of wood and tried to level things up at the back of the wagon, hopefully high enough that the trolley jacks could clear over the top of the rails. The problem is that they had very little sideways movement with that arrangement. It's a pity they didn't have one of those sidewinder forklift trucks from the States, because they can not only go forward and back, they can go sideways as well, and that would have been ideal. I would have thought one on either end, but they don't have it, so they had to make do with what they've got. The biggest problem was that when they tried to jack up the rear end, the jacks disappeared down into the soil and the ballast rather than lifting the rather heavy wagon. So they brought in sheets of steel like this, which they placed in that area to spread the load. That helped to some extent, but then you got slippage on the shiny steel surface. And I understand they also tried a similar idea under the forklift truck to give it better weight spreadability. Whoops, I don't think they pushed it at all like that. So much for the theory. But as I understand it, it took a long time to get a stable base that just didn't sink into the earth. But eventually they did manage to lift both ends to sufficient height to move it very slightly clear of the track. Of course, it was then at a lower level because it was no longer resting on the track. And they tried like a sideways crab motion to try and bring it over, with problems with the jacks sinking in and not gripping and various things sliding around on the surface rather than responding in a vertical direction. It took a long time, and the biggest problem then was to raise the whole thing up again, clear of the tracks. That took a very long time, so that's by the time they managed to clear both of the original tracks, the light was fading. And there was a real danger that if they didn't complete the action during that day, the track would be blocked for any trains passing in the morning, as far as they could to that track. And a diesel loco came down with a coach just to make sure there was enough clearance. They will now have to wait for another day when the railway isn't running regular passenger trains, and close the track again and complete the process such that the wagon is mounted then on the running rails and shutted off to a siding, or if convenient on that day, taken all the way to BL for eventual transport by road to the East Lancs Railway. And that, as I understand it, was how it was left on that first day, with enough clearance that any trains in the following days of the week could pass by with no hindrance.